Welcome to the new topic, that is types of data objects. I am Priyanka Gupta. I am working as assistant professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Data Science Department at Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. I am going to cover the topics. uh, we are coming into the fifth module, and that is the advanced concepts of data mining. So in that, first we will cover what all types of data we can mine from the data warehouse. So there are advanced types of data also. I'll tell you, and we will see what is data actually, what is data, how it is divided into attributes, and what are the types of attributes, what are the types of sources of data. So these are the advanced types of data in databases. I'll cover the flat files, relational databases, that is nothing but that conventional database we have studied further. Then I'll cover data warehouse, what type of data we are keeping in data warehouse, what are the applications there we are using. I'll cover the transactional database, what is actually the transactional database and what are the different applications of that. And then I'll cover other type of databases that is related to the multimedia. So some of the multimedia databases are there, spatial databases, time series, and World Wide Web data. What is data? So what is data and how it is going to be classified in normal data as well as advanced data. So in data, to mine any type of data, we should know about all type of data is there in data warehouse, conventional databases. So data sets are that is made up of data objects. Data sets are nothing but that is combining the data objects. So a data objects is nothing but that is having the entity, that is representing a entity. Suppose if we'll take an example, if there is some sample, there is some data points, there are objects. So these are the terms we are calling to the pointing a data, a attribute of data. So these are the further different names of that. We can call as sample, we can call as example, instance, data point, object, and tuple. So these are the different names of data objects. Data objects that will be described by attributes. So data objects, how are pointing the data objects? That is nothing but that will be created by attributes in the data set. Now, the attribute. What is attribute? The attribute is a property actually. This is the characteristics of a data object. An attribute. So that is actually the characteristics of that data objects. That were we were telling as a data point, instances, and objects. So that is nothing but the property. For example, attribute can also be taken as a variable. It can be called as a feature, characteristic, field. So these are the further other names of these attribute. So a collection of attribute is nothing but that is describing an object. So that will be the object. There will be the collection of objects, collection of attribute. Then we can call as that is a sample, that is an example. So further, if we will have a table, so the attribute is nothing the type of that data object. So there will be the number of attribute. Then only we can work on that. So that is nothing but that is describing an object. Now the attribute value. So some value will be there, right? There will be the different records, there will be some value that is separating as a one data object. So that attribute value should have the number, or we can say some symbol. So that will be an attribute that is having the number as well as any symbol. A data object. Now the data object, I'll tell you the in the example. If we will take the database of sales database, so there will be that will be the data object of sales. That will be the data object of sales. So here the object may be customer. the object can be pointed as customer. In that sales database, there can have the attribute store item, right? Customer, store item, and sales. So these are some attribute in this example of sales database, right? So these are nothing but these are the objects: customer, store item, and sales. So in the medical database, if we'll take the medical database example, so what are the objects will be there? That is differentiating between that. So that there will be the patient, there will be the we can say the disease. So these type of data will be in the medical database. If we will take the university database, university related, college related database, so object will be the student as well as student, faculty, or we can say professors, and what are the different courses are there. So these are the some objects pointed in these three databases. So now we have understood about what is data object. So data object are typically described by attribute, right? Attribute, they are pointing by as a attribute. Data objects can be referred as sample, example, data point, objects, and instances. So any name is describing the data object. So if the database will be stored in the data, they will be stored in the database. They are data tuple. So that the other name is there. They are we can call them as a data tuple. If they are storing that type of object, they are storing in the database, they will be the data tuple. So tuple is another name. Now, what is attribute? I'll describe what is attribute. Is basically a data field. It is a data field describing representing the characteristic, or we can say feature for the data object. So data object we have covered. So that is only the data field. Attribute is nothing but that is only a data field that is covering or representing the characteristic of that particular data object. So attribute can also be called as a dimension as well as feature and variable. Right? So for example, a customer ID is there, name and address. So these are the different attributes of that particular data object. Suppose it is related to sales, so that will be the sales data object. Attribute value are the number and symbol will be stored in that particular attribute. So there will be the records of attribute. So that the number and symbols will be there as a record. The distinction between the attribute and attribute value, same attribute can be mapped to different attribute value. So same of them attribute can be also be there in the different type of attribute value. For example, if height is there, height can be measured in feet as well as in meter. So that is an example of mapping of same attribute with the other different attribute value. Different attribute can be mapped to the same set of value. How? So example is attribute value for ID and age can be integer. So integer, the difference between the type of attribute and attribute value is ID and age can be same type of attribute. Like ID is also having the number type of attribute and age is also having the number type of attribute. So those both are integers. So these are the difference between to understand about what is attribute and what is attribute value. Attribute type. So property of attribute value can be different also some of the time because ID has no limit. ID can have, if we will take an example of a university, so there a student roll number, or we can say student university hall ticket number, that will be unique. That can vary every year. Different type of students are taking admissions. So there is no limit of ID, but that is having the maximum and minimum value. So we can categorize as these type of IDs will be for this year. These are type of IDs will be for this year. So these are the some category we can categorize for those attribute values. Now we will now attribute types. How many types of attributes are there? So there are 4 types of attribute in database. So that is nominal, ordinal. That is nominal, ordinal. One by one we will see. So first is nominal. Nominal type of data attribute that is having the categorical data, that is having the qualitative type of data. So category is nothing but the name of things. So some related to some we can say we are categorizing this as a category data, category. So that will be the name of things. We can say the that is particularly will be the one word. So for example, hair color, marital status, occupation, ID number, zip code, these type of names will be there for attribute. Then it will be the nominal attribute. So binary type of attribute can also be the nominal attribute. So binary is having the 0 and 1, so that will also be the nominal attribute. Not we will write it as a true and false. So these type of name of things will be the nominal type of attribute. Now ordinal type of attributes. So ordinal type of attribute is having the sum of the ordering, some of the category, right? So that comes under the qualitative type of data also, and that is having the value of we can say a meaningful order, some type of num. If suppose there will be the some rank order, suppose rank is there for any game prizes, so their rank will be the first, second, third. So these will be the ranks, or some order is there to categorize between the players who did well in that sports. So that is categorizing by the ranking or ordering of the that category. So that type of data, that will be the ordinal type of data. So values have a meaningful order or ranking, but having the magnitude between the successive values, that is not known. So how we can categorize? That is not having the numerical order. There is no numerical order 0, 1, 2, 3, but that is having the successive ordering, because first, second, third, the first will come, then second, the third. So like that type of categorization or ranking or ordering will be in the ordinal type of attributes. So suppose size is there, small, medium, large, that will also comes under the ordinal type of data, ordinal type of attributes. Grades, what are the grades in each of the semester, and the students are they are having A++, B++, like that. These are nothing but the grades, that are the ranking, that are the ordering, successive ordering. Army ranking, right? So there will be the lieutenant, like other rankings will be there. Now interval. Now third is interval type of attribute. So interval is nothing but that is having the numeric type of data. All the numeric type of data that is coming into the interval. So interval is nothing that there will be the some ordering, some values will be there. So that comes under the quantitative type of data. So that is measuring on a equal size scale. There will be some unit to measure that, and that will be the equal in, like if suppose there is a grade, so grade 1 to there are marks for grading. So who are the students that are coming into the 1 to 49, then again 50 to 100. So they will be the 1 to 49, they will be the in C. 50 to 100, they will be the like this. If some grading, some interval will be there between the numeric type of data, so that comes under the interval attribute. So value that is having the ordering, the temperature also comes under this, because temperature is having the degree centigrade of degree Fahrenheit values. Calendar dates can be there. what are the different calendar dates are there. So that is successive nature, that will also comes under this. Also the interval type of data, that is also comes under interval value, that is comes under interval. So no true 0 points and ratios will be the ratios are not meaningful. So that type of all type of data, that is coming under the interval type of attributes. Now fourth is ratio type of attribute, that is also having the numeric type of data, and that comes under the quantitative point of data, that is having the ratio, that is having the meaningful data. The meaningful data will be there. See, there should have some ratio, the temperature in Kelvin, length, count, quantiles, so that all comes under the ratio type of data. So these were 4 type of attributes were there. Now the types of sources of data. So the data type and what are the attribute and what are the different property of there, that we knew. Now we will go into the what are the different data is there in databases. So what are different sources of data can be there. If we want any type of data, what will be the source to get that data from that mining process, if we are going to do the data mining in this subject. So the data from multiple sources can be integrated at one place. They can be integrated at one place. So that in the data warehouse in data mining, we are calling it as a data warehouse. That will be the common source, common place to keep that all the data. So multiple sources of data can be we can keep at one place, that is data warehouse. Now there are some types of data we can mine in the data mining. So there can be the flat files, relational type of databases in data warehouse data, all of the data warehouse data, any type of data can be there. Transactional type of data, multimedia data, spatial type of data, and time series and web data, worldwide web data, internet data. So these type of data we can mine in data mining. What are flat files actually? The flat files are nothing that is defined in the data files in a text form. So what are the data is having in the text form? Any structure that is having the, that is storing as a, that will not have any relationship between other of the files, that is not having the relationship. Because if we will take the example of relational database, so there will be the sum of the files, tables, so that one table is having the relationship between the other table, other type of data. So in this flat files, there should not have any relationship. So that type of data will be called as a flat file. So data is stored in flat files, that is having the no relationship, that is having the no any path to store that among themselves. So like if a relational database is stored on a flat file, then there will be no relation between the table. So this type of data will be the flat file. So flat file can be described in form of text form or binary form with a structure that can be easily extracted by the data mining algorithm or process. Flat file will be represented by the data dictionary. So that will be the data dictionary. In data dictionary, the CSV files can be there, right? So suppose if we are extracting the data from MS Excel, Microsoft Excel, so if we are working on any file and suppose we have to save that file, we have to tell that what are the different extension of that file. So in that what type of data can be there, so that will be the data dictionary of that. So that in data dictionary, the CSV file can be there, that is nothing but that is having the comma instructed file, comma separated files. So in that file, all the attribute can be separated by the double quotes. So that will be in the data dictionary. The data, what are the applications are there for using the flat files, where this type of files can be stored, that is stored in the data warehouse, that can be stored in the carrying data to end form user. So these are the two applications where the flat file has been using for the as a data scientist, a data miner, we are working on that flat files mostly. So these are these all type of files, flat files, will be stored in the data warehouse. Relational databases. The relational database is nothing that databases we are using in traditional system. So that is nothing but database that is having the table in the form of row and column. So every database that is storing the data that will be related to each other, then only it will be the database, that will be in the database, that will be in the relational database. So it is also there will be the set of software to store that type of databases. So that is used to manage that data, that is having the to process that type of data, accessing that type of data, providing the space for that data. So those type of databases will be the traditional relational databases. So the relational database is defined as a collection of data that organized in the table with row and column. The every record stored in the table, so the row and column will be there, that will be stored in the form of table, so the table that will be that is having the unique key in the data warehouse. So there will be the representation of data. If we want to represent that data table in the form of one representation, there will be one technique, IARE model. So the entity relationship model will be there. So on the basis of that, we can represent, we can visualize those of the relationship between the some tables. So the IARE model that is created to provide a representation of a relational database that is featuring the entity. So there will be the entity that is nothing but that is having the attribute and the relationship between both. So that will be the IARE model to represent that type of relationships. Physical schema. So in the database, there will be the term physical schema, that is nothing. In relational database, that is a structure of table that is going to that is actually a, we cannot see that we can see that type of physical schema, that is nothing but that is a structure of table actually. And the other type of logical schema will be there that we cannot see. So that will be the that is defining the relationship among the table. The physical database, that schema, that is representing the structure of database, structure of those of the tables. But the logical schema, that is representing the relationship among the table. What are the relationship between the two tables, right? Standard API that is using for the relational database, that is SQL. So in the large scale, the structured query language has been using for to providing, to storing, to working on those type of tables that is having the relational databases. So the API is nothing but the structured query language. So that query language is having the some structure that is having the structured syntaxes to write some of. If we want to store some, we want to make one table, there is some syntax written for that. If we want to add some of the values in that, there will be the another type of syntax. So like that, we have to write some of the syntaxes in that SQL. What will be the examples of that relational databases? In the data minings, we are using that relational databases. In our OLAP model, we are also using that relational database. Data warehouse. The data warehouse is nothing but that is a single storage point, single storage location that is having to collect the data from multiple sources at one place, and then it is going to store that data in a form of unified plan. So there will be the plan to organize that all multiple sources data at one location. A data warehouse is defined as a collection of data integrated from different multiple sources that will query and then we can make a decision. So that is a definition of data warehouse. When data will be stored in data warehouse, we can we can undergo with the some of the techniques that we can apply the cleaning process, we can apply the integration of data, loading of data, and as well as the refreshing the data. So there will be the ETL process over there. So ETL that is going to clean the data, integrate that data, that particular multiple source data, then it have to load the data on the server, and then it will be refreshed, means it will be saved again. So these type of multiple functionality we can apply on that data warehouse data. Data will be stored in data warehouse is organized in several parts. There are 3 types of data warehouse, how it can be organized. So 3 types of data warehouses. First is enterprise data warehouse. If there is a small company, enterprise company, that type of people, that type of company, they can organize their data warehouse in the form of enterprise data warehouse. There will be data mart. Data mart is nothing but that is a type, actually domain related data warehouse. So that there will be the small, this is nothing but that is a small part of data warehouse. Third type of data warehouse will be the virtual type of data warehouse. So some other techniques, some software and other techniques are also there to make that virtual warehouse. So these 3 types of data warehouse are there. 2 approaches can be used to update data. What are the multiple sources data is there in data warehouse? So first approach is query driven approach. In this type of approach, we have to fetch the data, writing the queries. That is not the SQL type of that is not the SQL software, that is the another software. So on that we have to write the that query. So DMQL queries platform will be there. On that we have to write the query, and then that will be the query driven approach. Second is the update driven approach. So that is nothing but that is another type of approach we can apply. Here the data will be updated regularly on the server side. Applications will be there for data warehouse. That is if the industry, that those who wants to make a decision for business, so that the business decision making people, they can require the data warehouse. The data mining, the people who are related to do the research and data mining to mine some meaningful data, they will have to build the data warehouse. Transactional databases. Some transactional data is there in the platform. So what are the transactional data is there? Transactional data is nothing but that is storing the record that has been captured as a transaction, right? So all the finance related data, all the transaction related data, that will be the transactional type of data. So every transaction that is having the unique ID, to identify each of the transactions. It also listed all those items that made it a transaction. So that is also separating all the items as a one transaction, separating other transactions. So the transactional database is a collection of data organized by the timestamp, dates, etc. So the transactional database having one we can say field that is storing the timestamp. The actual time and seconds will be there when the data has been stored, when that transaction has been happened. So that the date will be there. So these are the some property of that transactional database. So to represent that transaction in the database. So each transaction is having the timestamp, dates, and other IDs related properties. This type of database having the capability of rollback, or we can say undo. That will having the property of refreshing the data. So its operation can be done. So if we want the old data as a transactional, what are the transaction has been placed in the last year, last month, so we can have that type of data. That is a capability to roll back. When the transaction is not completed and not committed. So if there will be the some we can say cyber crimes, finance related some faults, errors, so we can go and check that particular transactions, timestamp, date, and related all the properties. Highly flexible system. In that we can modify those of the information without changing any other important information. So that is the highly flexible system that is in transactional database. So these are the good property of that transactional type of database. The transactional database is also following the ACID property that is having in the traditional data warehouse, the database management system. So ACID property is nothing but that is having the atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability of that particular attributes or that tables. So these are the following by that transactional database also. The application will be there for transactional database that will be related to banking, distributed systems, and object databases. So in these are the applications the transactional database is using widely. Other type of data can also be there. Some advanced type of databases. We have a lot of other type of data as well as that has been known for their structure, semantic meaning, and versatility. So on that, some of the people are doing research also. They are using these are the data a lot in their applications. So these are the data is very, very useful. They're very, very meaningful. So here a few of data I'll tell what are the data types are there. The data streams are there. Data streams, that is nothing but that is having the multimedia, social media, YouTube's data. So that will be the data stream, live data, live video. So that type of data will come under the data streams. Engineering design data, right? The sequence data, graph data, spatial data. Spatial data is nothing but the geographical type of data. Multimedia data, that is having the audio, video. So these type of all data will come under the other type of data. That is very, very meaningful. A temporal database can also be there. What is temporal database? Temporal database typically stores in the relational database, but that includes the time related attribute. So those are the attributes who are having the time related attributes that comes under temporal data. So these are the attributes may include the several time stamps. So timestamps will be there. So, like what are the particular date were there? Like if suppose today is 4th, 2022, and what is the time there? Particularly if suppose 2023 and seconds is there, so all the time stamps will be stored in that type of temporal data. So that is having the each having the different, for each of the transaction different semantics will be there. A sequence database is nothing but that is having the sequence of ordered events. So what are the ordered events are there? What is the sequence of that with or without concerning for the time? So that is not having the concern to time, that is having the sequence of order of events. For example, the customer shopping sequence, web click streams, and biological sequences. So these type of suppose web click streams. So how many times one user has been clicked for an suppose one website. So that type of data has been stored further as a sequence database. What is the biological sequences? Suppose if cancer patient is there, what is their gene expression, what is the formation of gene and sequences are there, that will comes under the genes biological sequences. So these type of data will come under sequence database. Time series database is nothing but that is storing the sequence of value, sequence of event obtained by repeated measurement of time. So means suppose the time series, so there will be particular some date, some there will be some months, there will be some year, there will be some particular timings. So that type of all related data, repeated measurement of time, that comes under the time series data. Suppose hourly data, daily data, weekly data. So if we will take an example for one online shopping application. So if how many times a user is going there, what are the weekly prediction is there for that, how many users are clicking, how many users are ordering. So like that, these type of time over measurement, repeated over measurement sequences will be come under the time series data. Spatial data will be the spatial related information, that is including the geographic and map databases, very large scale integration, that comes under the VLSI, a computer aided design databases, and medical and satellite image databases. So those type of high quality data, that is advanced databases, that comes under the spatial type of databases. Multimedia database. So multimedia database is that having the audio and video, images and text media. They can be stored in the object oriented databases, that will be stored on the object oriented databases. They are used to store the complex information in a pre-specified format. So there will be the some format. Suppose the image is going to be saved in the JPEG, .png, there are some JPG, so there are some GNF. So these are the some type of files that has been the formats. In that type of formats only these multimedia databases will be stored. So these are the some examples of types of sources, how that multimedia databases has been going to be stored. The applications can be there for that. Digital library can have the multimedia data, video on demand, the video news on demand. So these are the live data, actually video live video, right? Live video, live news, what is having in the news channels, musical data. So these type of all related databases comes under the multimedia databases. Spatial database, that is having the geographical information, that is storing the data in the form of coordinates, topology, lines and polygons. So that is having the map type of data, that will be described in the form of map, form of graph. So that will be the spatial database. The applications can be used for that. For maps, Google Maps, global positioning, GPS. So for that we are using the data will be stored in that will be the spatial type of database. Time series data is containing the stock exchange data, user logged activities. So these type of data that is having the sequence of time series captured over the time, that will be the time series data. That is having to handles the array of numbers indexed by time and date. So that will be the timestamp. It requires the real-time analysis. So all the time series data, related data, that is works over the real-time analysis. So on the real-time applications, we can only have these type of time series databases. The application can be there for extreme database software, graphite software and influx databases. In that, the related time series databases can be stored, can be performed. World Wide Web data. The World Wide Web refers to the collection of document and resources, that is like having the audio, video, text structured, and that is having the identified by some URL, that is having the uniform resource locator on the website. So on the form of web browser. So on web browser we have to as a user have to write the URL, that is having the uniform resource locator, and then he have to type that particular website www.something.com or related any domain. So that will be accessible via the internet network. So we should have the internet network for that to use that type of URLs. that will be linked by the HTML pages on the background. So those type of www collection of document and resources will be under the World Wide Web data. It is the most heterogeneous collection, a repository that is having to collect the data from multiple sources. So that is having the multiple type of data. It is a dynamic in nature because that is having the real time data, that is having the real time data, and that is having the volume of data also. So that is having the huge volume of data in that is having the continuously increasing and changing, so that we are having these type of data on data warehouses. The applications can be there for these www related data, the online shopping, job searching, research and studying. So all type of data can be there for as a World Wide Web data. So that was about the types of data objects, what are the different attributes and attribute types are there, what are the different data types are there, that is having from the multiple sources. So we have covered the some advanced databases also, that were having the temporal data, spatial data, multimedia. So we understood what is actually that type of data. So that was all about the today's topic. Thank you for watching.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.